Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. Today, our host, Coach Preston Peterson, interviews a high school strength coach who is creating a big time strength conditioning experience for their student athletes. Today's episode is sponsored by Team Builder. Team Builder provides strength conditioning software to athletics programs around the country. Whether you write your own programs or want access to over 100 templates, Team Builder can make your program more efficient, more accountable, and smarter when it comes to measuring your team's effort in the weight room. Visit their website and start a 14-day free trial at teambuilder.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, I know you're going to like this episode. Coach Ryan Arnold is doing big time things for his students at Pleasant Valley High School in Iowa. Coach Ryan Arnold has been the strength and conditioning coach at Pleasant Valley since 2009. Prior to his time at Pleasant Valley, he was the program director for Quad Cities Acceleration. He is entering his 14th year of strength and conditioning. Coach Arnold has an extensive education in sports performance and holds numerous strength and conditioning certifications, including Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, Sports Performance Coach through USAW, and the USA Level 1 Track and Field Coach. He has completed his Master's of Education degree from Kaplan University. In 2004, Coach Arnold completed his outstanding college football playing career at the University of Northern Iowa by earning All-American honors from Don Hansen's Football Gazette, First Team All-Gateway Conference, Team Defensive MVP, and Team Captain. Arnold was a 3-year starter at defensive end for the Panthers and was part of 2 Gateway Conference Championship teams, later reaching the semifinals and quarterfinals of the NCAA Championships. Prior to landing at UNI, Arnold was a multi-sport standout at North Scott High School, where he excelled in football, basketball, and baseball. For his exploits, he was inducted into North Scott's Athletic Hall of Fame in 2011. Coach Arnold and his wife Krysta have 2 children, Brody and Tenley. In this episode, we talk about how Coach gives his student athletes a great opportunity to improve through his top-notch coaching staff, how he is implementing readiness surveys using Team Builder, his plan to use push bands, how he starts the school year, what he believes leadership development looks like, and what Coach is excited about this year. Check out the show notes for Coach's contact info. And as always, please review and share the Big Time Strength Podcast if you enjoy the show. Now let's hear from Coach Ryan Arnold.
Coach Arnold, thank you for coming on the Big Time Strength Podcast. Let's get things kicked off. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey through strength and conditioning and where you are now?
Yeah, first of all, man, I want to thank you for having me on here. It's good, man. I think these podcasts are great. I think they're great for any strength and conditioning coach, not only high school but college coaches. And I learn a lot from these. And I've contacted people on podcasts before, but my journey, just like everybody's journey, is a little bit different. So, played football at UNI, and I had the opportunity to train with Jim Kramer, who is now North Dakota State's head strength conditioning coach. And if you know anything about North Dakota State, they're kind of good at football. And, he's a big part of that, big reason behind that. And he kind of got me going in strength conditioning. From there, moved on to Quad Cities Acceleration. Tim O'Neill, who has won, I don't know how many state track championships here in the class, but in the state of Iowa. But he taught me a lot as well, so I kind of joined with him, and then took over director of acceleration for a little bit, and then got with Pleasant Valley High School. And, to this day, here I am, man. This is my 14th year of strength conditioning. And it's great, man. I love it. I love where I'm at. Love the community, love the kids, love working with the coaches. So it's been a good fit for me.
Sounds like you have an excellent resume, just a lot of experience to draw from. And it's really cool when you can hear kind of people's journey and how they got to where they're at and how much they enjoy what they're doing now. Can you kind of tell me about your program's mission, some of their core values, something that you're trying to teach the students every single day?
I hear, every coach is the same. I mean, they all want, to maximize their kids' potential and minimize injuries. And that's a goal here. I mean, it really is. We want that athlete to be able to play the sport they love. But on that, we want to just challenge all the students, the aspects of leadership, work ethic, winning attitude, consistency, and then we want the above average ability to have them follow instruction. And when doing so, we're also looking at developing those relationships. and I hear every coach, they always want to develop those relationships. And I'm telling you what, this is, my 14th year. And if you don't develop those relationships with those students, man, or those athletes, you're going to lose them. It's huge. So for us, all those philosophy, all those character things that we talk about, at the end of the day, it's all about the relationship. So for us, I tell every single coach that we're bringing here, it's relationships. Get to know your kid, get to know what they're doing, and those kids will appreciate you and they'll work hard for you.
Sounds like an awesome thing to center your program around. And a lot of times just the relationships between athletes and their coaches and coaches with their administration, it brings about a certain culture. What would you say the culture of your program looks like? Every coach that comes in here, they always go, man, your kids are moving. They're moving fast. I'm talking about our advanced kids. And our culture is really good here. Just like any coach is going to tell you that, they always want more. We want more too. And we want to get better. We want to get better every day, every year, every 5 years, every 10 years. We want to get better. We want to develop that culture. But it's come a long way. It really has. Our kids work hard. We preach tempo to our kids. So tempo is a big thing I look at. So, how's your tempo that day? Are you moving from exercise to exercise? Are you doing those? Are you taking a drink in between every exercise? Are you, those things that we look at. But the culture is really good. Strength conditioning is key here. Administration has been fantastic. Our coaches have been fantastic about getting kids in the weight room and not talking about weight room, but talking about strength and conditioning and a total piece here. The facility is our administration, our community is adding on a $22 million complex to our facility. It's currently, I'm looking out the window right now, and they're adding expansion to our weight room. And they're adding on because it's important. It's important not only to our administration, our coaches, our teachers, but it's important to our community as well. It's pretty impressive when you get the community and everybody behind your program. And I love to hear about your continual growth. You're always searching for that improvement. I want you to kind of tell me, what are some unique ways you're making the big time where you're at?
I think opportunity, with our kids, that's the biggest thing for us is we have opportunity for our kids no matter what. So, strength and conditioning during the day, we're going to offer that to you. We have a unique program where we actually allow a couple guys from Rock Valley Sports Performance to come in here, and they help us out in the morning. One's Jordan Powell, the other guy's Caleb Robertson. Those guys are fantastic. One was a assistant coach at the University of Iowa underneath Coach Doyle. The other was Caleb Robertson. He was a coach. Well, he's got an impressive resume too, just like Jordan does. But he also coached at the University of Auburn, and he had a ton of athletes there. Track and field, swimming, diving, tennis, gymnastics, women's soccer, men's basketball. So he worked with the Olympic program there. And we have those guys, and we bring those guys in, and those guys, it's great to have them. They're young, they work hard, they get strength conditioning, and they work with our advanced kids in the morning. So, having 3 certified CSCS guys in here, guys that have knowledge, guys that know what's going on, I think that's an advantage for us. I think that's something that you don't get at every school. We have a lot of eyes on guys. We're able to knock that ratio down. You're aware of how it goes to high school. Every administrator in America thinks that you can go 1 on 50 with kids, and that's not how it is. So our administration has been behind us and backed us up. They brought in quality guys, and just had a meeting with those guys yesterday. They're great, great to talk to, and they start back up with us next week, and I'm excited. And that's to me, that's an advantage that we have. It really is. It's kind of cool to have those guys come in. I trust them. The athletes trust them. And it's just definitely an advantage for us here at Pleasant Valley High School.
That's really impressive. What is the process that you went through to get those guys on board, to be able to get that done with your administration? And kind of how did that look to get that going?
Well, I tell you what, our administration, I'll name drop, Mike Zimmer, Jim Spellock, Dan Kramer. I mean, they're the three. They really are the backbone by this program. So basically you go in it and they trust you, and you tell them what you think, and you tell them what you need, and they'll take care of you. And that they've been huge for athletics, academics, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you just tell them, I need guys that are certified. I need people that can help. And once again, because athletics is important here, they're going to back you up and help you out. And the smallest thing, they trust you. You develop that trust with them. And it's been a process, man. It really is. I actually was in sports performance, but I had to get my master's in education. So that's one of those things. Mike Zimmer helped me out. He gave me like a 3-year window, 2-year window to get that done. And, he trusts me. So at the end of the day, when I got it done, I think he developed a little more trust with me. And I think that's helped develop that relationship. And, unfortunately, I think, I don't know when Mike's going to retire, but when he does, it'll be interesting. It really will. So we'll see. But once again, I think it comes down to trust and who you are as a person.
So with that, with getting guys on board, a couple more coaches to come in and you got that rolling. Now you have a legitimate staff. How do you go about managing and developing and evaluating the guys that are coming in? And also, what are you doing to develop an intern program? I know that you guys have interns coming in and that type of thing. What's that look like for you?
We have so when I was at Acceleration, I learned a lot from Tim. As far as getting in interns, and we get a lot of our interns from St. Ambrose. So we do a fall semester, and then we also do a winter semester, so our spring semester is what they call it. But so we actually this fall have 2 interns that we come in. Process-wise, we have them do a lot of proficiencies, take them through. But I'm to the point now, especially my 14th year, I want to get better at dealing with interns. But at the same time, I want them to take some accountability. I want them to ask questions. I give them a notebook. I have basically all I put in there is like 5 or 6 pieces of paper. And, what that is, it might be program philosophy, internship duties, and then I put about 30 pieces of blank white paper in that manual. And what that is I tell them at the end of it, at the meeting, I go, what those 30 pieces of paper are, or whatever that, what it's 30, 35, whatever it is, this is for you to gain knowledge of what we're doing. That tells me you want to learn. That tells me you want to be here. That tells me you actually want to be in this field. So you know how it is. I mean, every year you might get an intern that fills that paper up, or you might get an intern that never even uses it. So I always tell them, hey, if you got questions, you want to know what's going on, set aside a meeting with me, set a time, and we'll develop that, type thing. As far as our guys that we bring in, Caleb, Jordan, our other coaches that help us out here, Brett Algren, Jake Larson, all those guys, basketball, wrestling coaches, we just set meetings aside. That's one of the things that you set a meeting aside, or, you can ask them how that day went. Hey, how did you guys think it went today? They'll kind of tell you, they'll give their insight. And it's good. And I tell you what, that's why it's good for bringing people from the outside, because you're here so much. I see the same athletes all the time. I'm going to play favoritism to them. Hey, I think this kid's doing a great job. They'll come in and tell you that, hey, he's really not. This is what's going on. So I love that, because you're bringing those guys from the outside, and they'll tell you the truth. Unfortunately, that's kind of like your wife, right? She'll tell you the truth, but you want to hear the truth. You want to know what's going on. You want to know from the outside, the inside, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, those guys will tell you what's really going on, because they're outsiders coming in the inside. And I think that's what I love about it.
The thing that I find is when you're managing that many people, there's so much that goes into your thought process every day, and just being able to bring them in and help develop them and then also build that accountability into it. I really like that point that you made. It's really cool to see when interns grow and learn and develop and want to get better at their craft. And And I think it's awesome that you have two coaches that are also willing, also your sport coaches coming in willing to invest in the athletes. So awesome job. What are some of the resources or tools or software, apps or systems that you use to optimize your training? Like what are the things that you go to make sure that you're being efficient with your time and can really put out the best program for your student athletes?
About 3 or 4 years ago, I tell you what, we use technology. I actually just had a meeting here where we started talking here on technology with our new room, and we use technology a lot. The great thing about technology is when it's working, it's fantastic. when it's not working, it can make your life. It can make it. It can turn upside down really quick. So we use Team Builder here. We've been doing that. It's my 4th year going on Team Builder. And Tony said something, I think, Team Builder on his podcast. I'm pretty sure he did. But I love Team Builder. I was printing out about 600 pieces of paper every 2 weeks. Now it's up to 800 plus pieces of paper that we would have to print every 2 weeks. But Team Builder has been fantastic for us. We use standard-based grading here at PV High School. So for us, there's 4 different categories that we use for our basic and intermediate kids, and then 3 categories for our advanced kids. And there's a lot of tools and stuff that we can use on there. I'm going to go into detail here, but the readiness for me is how many hours of sleep. And kids don't lie about it, man. They'll tell you where they're at, and I love that. And because you know how it is. You got that many kids in here. Let's say we got 80 kids in an early bird class. I can't ask every kid if they ate before. I can't ask every kid if how many hours of sleep they had. I can't do those things. So, and kids don't think we read that stuff, but we do. I mean, that's important to me. I read that every day. I want to know where they're at, and they're surprised when you ask them. They really are, because they're honest about it too, and that's a good thing. We want honesty of our kids. That's one of those character traits that we develop. But a cool thing that I you've heard Jim Ware and you've had Tenley units, and the cool thing that I really did trial on this summer was a push band. BBT talks a lot with Gary Schofield as far as getting that kind of dialed in. And I tell you what, man, our kids loved it. They really did, especially with their upper level kids. But there's some good stuff that you can do with your lower level kids too to prevent them from loading the bar too much. So there's a lot of safe stuff as far as liability to prevent them from, how basic kids are, or our freshman kids are. They want to put weight on the bar and they want to get strong fast. And there's some cool things that we developed. So we just sent that back to push. And we're hoping, depending on what happens, hopefully we can get 30 of those, because we got 30 racks here. But if not, hopefully we can get 10 to start off. And then that's only going to improve us, So that's going to improve our programming. And I'll base a lot of my programming off of that BBT, beyond other things that we base off too.
That sounds like really interesting technology. And Pushband, I think, is a fairly new company, and I think they've made a lot of progress since they first came out. I'm interested to see how that goes for you, Coach. I kind of want to listen in to how your athletes are doing with it. The thing that also you hit on there is just the efficiency within your weight room. And you talked about you had 30 racks, and you think about the amount of kids that you're helping every single day. You have to have some hurdles. You got some hurdles that come up. What are some hurdles that you have, and what's the best way or some of the ways that you're overcoming those challenges?
I think the hurdle you have with really everybody is, and I'll talk about this now because it's summer and we're getting into school year, but we see probably, I'm going to say we're about 50% with our school. So if you think about that, we're, let's say 1,600 kids, right? And we see about a little bit over 50, so we're about 800 plus. And in the summer, you get about 400 plus. So, you look at your percentage there, and those kids want to be here. Those kids that come in here in the summer, they want to be here. They work hard. They don't have excuses not to show up. And then the school year starts. And then those kids that have been here in the summer, they got to be the leaders to develop that culture that you have. So right away at the beginning of the school year, that's a culture thing. That's the thing we got to develop. That's the thing we got to tell them, hey, regardless if you're here in the summer or not, you got to work. And that's an expectation for you. You're here. You're now. You got the one of the best weight rooms in the state of Iowa, along with other schools. You can go down the line, North Scott, Johnston. I mean, all those schools. They got these state-of-the-art facilities, and you got to work. You got to outwork them. That's always a hurdle for us right away. I mean, I can tell you that right now. Motivating high school kids throughout the whole year. I like to say high school strength and conditioning. We have less days off than college. And what I mean by that is a college athlete might have, quote unquote, their summer off. They really don't. They're supposed to continue to lift. They're supposed to continue those things. But they might be on their own. They might have a packet, that they sent home with them, if they're not at their college. Or, a winter, a high school kid gets 10 days off now at PB High School. Before we had 14 days. A college kid, might get 5 weeks. And really, in all reality, they're supposed to continue to lift. Once again, it's not. It's one of those things where the coaches keep an eye on you. So, who knows if that happens. So that's a hurdle for us, too. You got to continue to motivate our kids. So really, those are the two biggest things, right now that I see as a hurdle. And then with anything, your parameters, you always get your head coaches too, and I think we have a lot of good head coaches here too. But I think I heard Tony talk about, wanting to get every single coach on the same page, every single kid on the same page. It's a struggle. I think that's always going to be a struggle with you in high school and getting everyone on the same page. Those three right there that I could name that are struggles for us, but not stressful things, just things that we just got to continue to get better at.
When you identify your hurdles and look at them as a challenge and something that you can get better at, it's always amazing how well you can improve and look at those each time, getting better. Just like you ask your kids every single day, right? You want that continual improvement and wanting more, and it's the same for the strength coach. And I think you're doing an awesome job with that. You also mentioned a little bit about the beginning of a school year, and right now this is right where we're at. You are, you talk about that as being one of your hurdles is setting that culture. Can you kind of tell us or walk us through what it looks like right at the beginning of a school year, how you start to implement, how you build that culture from the get go?
Last year what we did is, I think every coach does this in high school level, but you bring your kid in. And, unfortunately, you talk about your syllabus and you do your rubric stuff, which is good stuff. And you come to the point sometimes where you go, man, did I just bring kids and have a negative talk with them about things they're not supposed to do, things that we, hey, we get you're going to work out on the outside, but here's the things that we can help you with, being positive with them. So I'm looking at, doing something different this year. Being more positive with them versus, sit down there with the syllabus and we'll bring in early bird and first period kids. So we'll bring in 200 plus kids in here and they'll be in the weight room and so I'm looking at different ways to develop that and be more positive. I know, Miller Strength Conditioning out of Indiana, he does a big thing where he brings in his, seniors, that have been in strength conditioning, they're going on their fourth year, and they talk about they're positive, and they got video, and they got the big projector system up there, and so I'm looking at ways of changing that. But that's the thing for us that develop that culture right away. Expectations. Our expectations as a strength conditioning staff doesn't change. And people say, kids change, kids have changed. Kids have not changed. They really haven't. The parenting has changed for sure. And I get it. I got two kids of my own and I get it. That's the same point, but kids don't change. The expectations, they like structure. Although they'll tell you they don't like it, they do. I mean, athletes like structure, and I can tell you right now, just from a standpoint of if I have a program for those kids, I could tell those kids to come in the next week, hey, you can do your own thing. Some of those kids would be lost without it, because they don't have that structure. So to me, developing that culture right away is just setting that meeting. getting it developed right away, and just constant reminders. Hey, this is where we're at. This is where we need to be. So those are different ways that we can develop that, especially at the start of the year.
You talked about bringing in your seniors. I think that's such an awesome idea. Either bringing them in personally or recording a video beforehand. They got my mind rolling. I think that's something I'm going to try to hit this school year. That's really cool. And you talk about your seniors investing into the younger classmen and all that type of stuff. What are some ways that you're building team camaraderie and developing leaders? How do you get your seniors to where they're at now, where you'd want to record them and show it to everybody else?
I think this is something that I think every high school too as well. They need to improve on and develop in leadership. I don't think you see enough of that anymore. As far as developing leadership with our kids, and that's something. But to me, man, that's relationship. That's talking to them. I just talked to one of our actually volleyball and football athletes the other day about, hey, this is where we're at. This is what I saw today. Hey, this is what I want you to work on, type things. And I think just those relationships, that one-on-one conversation you have with a kid, I think that's how you develop it. Hey, this is what I want to see out of you. And they got questions about how they can develop that, then yeah, you're going to go in more detail. There's a lot of great reads out there, man. There's a lot of good developing leadership classes or leadership roles that they take. You're seeing a lot of that stuff now. I think, back in, the generation, where I'm from, you had those leaders that came out. They knew how to do it. I think anymore you're not really seeing that. But I think it's there for those kids. I think they want to. They're unsure of how to do it. Back when I was a kid, we didn't have social media. We didn't have all these things. We didn't have the doubt. And I think now that there's a little bit out there because there's so much thing, so many things they got to deal with from that standpoint that they see all the time. And I didn't see that, It's different, one of those things is different. So one-on-one conversation with me, man, that's relationship with those kids. That's how you develop leadership. And those coaches, the head coaches, the talks are communicating with the coach about what you're seeing with your players, how they communicate that to the kid, and how they can develop that leadership is definitely a key role or very vital for that kid.
I'm on board with you, man. That's everything has to stem from building those relationships and what you're talking about, just having those one-on-one conversations. It goes such a long ways. Along with, you have the senior level of leadership and you're trying to filter it down to your younger students. Do you have some sort of block system or level system for your training aspects too? So, we've talked about culture and mission and core values and what about just in training in general? Are you trying to separate the levels out for each classification or what's that look like in your guys' program?
So we have 3 levels of training that we call it. It's called basic, intermediate, and advanced. And what basic is basic weight training. They've had 0 years of Pleasant Valley High School experience. So what that means is they haven't listed it in our program at all. And they have to go through a full year of that. And we have intermediate/transitional, which is like usually our sophomores, but they have 1 year of PV experience. And we have our advanced. They have 2 years of experience, and they've had to go through a full year of that. The great thing about standards-based grading is that we told that they determine that really. It's their effort. We call it their cooperation as a category. Their technique also plays into play on that one. We call it cognitive piece, and then we call it their performance and goals. So there's 4 different categories, and they have to pass those to move on to the next level. And it's under, my discrepancy if they move on. And that's a great thing about it is if they're not putting forth the effort, really that's my big thing. If they're not putting forth the effort or if their technique is they're just struggling on their technique, we don't move them on to the next level. And it's been great for us. I can tell you I've had about 10 plus emails about why am I not moving on type thing. And, we've had those conversations with those kids already. And, sometimes it's a social piece for them. But the advanced weight training is, it's all about getting better. and I got to have a reason. I have a purpose, and really everything. If you're in here, there's a purpose. There's a reason. You're not just in here to socialize. You're in here to get your work in. You're going to have fun when you're doing it, and we're going to push you. And there's no other piece like that here in high school. There really isn't, besides sport. So it's one of those things that's I think it's unique that we have that. It's great that we have that for parameter. And, within that, there's different developmental pieces, each phase. Programming, it's different for every coach, but we develop it for our kids, and what's best for our kids, what's best for their movement. I've heard, I've talked to tough coaches, and they do the same thing. They do the same thing that we do. So once again, it's one of the things that we love tempo, we love contrast, we love complex. It's one of the things but we want movement. We want them moving through their exercises.
So just to continue on with that, what are some of the programming methodologies that you follow or have had success with, or what would you say to a coach listening? What does your program look like?
I think, it's going to be different for every level. So we don't back squat our kids until they're sophomores. And to be honest with you, I don't usually back squat our kids until they're probably about October, November of sophomore year. But we're going to probably change that this year. We're probably going to put them, probably going to start back squatting our kids right away, sophomore level, but they're ready for it. And that's all I'll say. You base your training or your programming off of what they can do as a group. So they're ready to do that. We're going to start doing it away. Just to give you an example, we've done a lot of stuff with tempos. We've done everything, man. I mean, that's one of those things that the kids love. We do competition Fridays here, which I love. It's really a volume day for us on Friday, especially with our off-season kids, for our advanced kids. And they love it. It's competition. Those kids work their butt off. We got away from that a little bit last year. We have a point system. We have a total. We give them shirts, whatever it is, but it's competition, and those kids love it because you know how it is, man. Sometimes it's Tuesday, Thursday, and then that third day of training hits Friday, and it's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. It's back to back, and sometimes the recovery isn't the greatest. It's not the greatest. I know that, and they come in here, and we have competition Friday every once in a while. So, or we'll do a game on that Friday. So I think it's kind of cool for everything that we do. Like I said, we do a ton of different things, and that's great having Caleb and Jordan in here because they program too as well. We bounce off new ideas to each other. And then it's just great to have that competition Friday. We throw it in there every maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And that's based off how our kids are working too. If we think our kids are working hard, maybe we'll give them a game day. That's one of the things that we kind of see best suit for what class it is. You've heard coaches tell you too, we run the clock, and well, I run a clock or I run a timer. And that's based off of how our class is working or what group we have. If I think they're working with good tempo, I don't need to bring that clock out. So, everything's different. Everything's tailored towards your class or towards your sport that you have.
You mentioned the clock there. And I've kind of found the same thing. It's like, if you've got say it's your advanced group, at some points, it's like, you don't need a clock. You don't need a tempo. Maybe you're calling out rest periods, but I've got to the point with a lot of my classes where the clock isn't really doing much, but it's such a vital deal when you're trying to teach that tempo, I think too. So, and what you're talking about with just what it looks like, weekly, if you throw in a game there or if a competition, I like keeping it fresh like that. You earlier in the show, you were talking about how high schoolers are training so much more than college athletes, or having less off days. That's a lot of time to be training. And there is no doubt in my mind that athletes want to be competitive. They want to compete in so many different things. And that's in the weight room every day, but also within, just little competitions, games, whatever it is. So I'm happy you're doing that. It sounds awesome. What would you say your vision is for the program in the next 5 years?
I think too, and I heard Tony talk about this, that one, our vision is like any high school, you want to be the best strength and conditioning program in the state of Iowa, right? I mean, you want the best facilities, you want to have all that stuff, and you know, and you always strive to improve that, get better at it. But you know, I want, you know, we have 48%, 50+% buy-in with our kids, and I want more kids to buy in. You know, I can tell you there, you know, some of our athletes don't take strength conditioning, and you know, because it's bad for them. It hurts them. You know, whatever reason, whatever excuse they use, you know, whether it's parents of them or they just don't want to work hard, whatever it is. But we want to get those kids aboard. We want to get them on board. And to me, how do we do that? You know, how do we develop those relationships? How do we get those kids to do it? How do we get them to buy in? But, you know, on top of that, I think with every kid that you have now, especially with all the social media out there, you know, a kid that's got 2 years experience, man, he knows everything about strength conditioning. You know, he's been lifting for 2 years. You know, this is what he saw here, or this is what he saw there. This is why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? I want those kids to buy in more. So I want to communicate what we need to do to help that out. And, you know, I've had a lot of conversations with coaches about that, and it's the same thing every high school. You know, more is better, right? I mean, and that we hear from every kid or some of your old school coaches, and that's not the case. So we got to communicate that better. So for my next 5 years, I want to get more kids on board, like always, and it's always going to be a struggle. You're always going to fight that, but we got to develop in a positive way. We can't be negative about it. We got to develop in a positive way. How can we get better, and how can we get our kids better? Because at the end of the day, it's about PV kids. It's about Pleasant Valley kids. It's about getting those kids better. It's about letting them enjoy their sport, and it's about letting them be the best they can at that sport. And at the end of the day, it's about that relationship.
That's exciting, Coach. I think in the next 5 years, you're going to be able to accomplish a lot of those things just because the path that you're on right now. How about this next year? What are you excited about learning and improving on as a coach?
You know, this year, you know, what I'm excited about. Well, one, I'm excited about this facility that we're building on, and it's, you know, our expansion is going to be done here actually next week, and then our equipment gets shipped here from Powerlift after it gets painted here on August 20th. But I'm excited about the facilities we'll have, the excitement we'll have around the area, but I'm also excited about if we're able to get the push bands, what we're able to do with our, especially our advanced kids. But you know what? At the end of the day, man, I'm excited about the seniors because this senior group is the first group we've had that went through basic weight training. We actually used to have basic and intermediate mixed together, and that's the only way we could do it based off our curriculum and what we had. So this group of seniors is the first group that actually had just basic weight training. So I'm excited about these kids. I'm excited about their adventure. I'm excited about, you know, where they were versus where they're going to be at right now, and where they can lead to, you know, as far as getting better as not only an athlete but a student, and developing that relationship with them even more as they get into college, you know, as they become, you know, grown adults. You know, those things I'm excited about that. So every year, I think you're always excited about your seniors.
I'm in the same boat again, man. I'm so pumped up for our senior class right now, just because the amount of work that they put in and how much they're investing in the younger classes. So you hit that on the nose for me. I'm really liking where we're at right now, and I think what you're talking about, where the seniors have been able to go all the way through your program in the way that you'd want it to go, and that's really cool. How about some of the things that you're doing to just be at the top of your game? What's your favorite professional development resources, and what are you looking to? Any books, articles, podcasts, videos, other coaches? What's kind of your go-to stuff to really be your best?
You know, I heard Gary Schofield, I forgot how he said it, but reading books, you know, there's three things he looks for. And he goes, one for me, one for you, and I forgot it's one for Plunner. So I forgot exactly what he said, but, you know, I read, you know, and sometimes I don't read as much as I can in the summer. You know, it's nice outside. So as far as, you know, reading to me is huge. And you know, whether it used to be when I first started, it was about programming. And now it's, really it's about motivation or positivity or whatever it is. But to me, reading's been huge for me. Podcasts, I love what you're doing. I think this is great. Like I told you before, Nelson had that one, and he's not doing it anymore, which is, whatever reason was great for me. I mean, there were 60, 70 plus podcasts on there. It was great just to have those. And then going to clinics. I think it's great what they came out here with Gary and the other guys as far as their National High School Strength and Conditioning Association. I think that's huge. I think, I love the NSCA, and I'm part of it, and it's great. But it's the same deal. It's collegiate bound, and they don't deal with the same thing we do, And I think that's great that they came up with the National High School Association. So, those three things right there, man. That's how I get better. And at the end of the day, especially with this being my 14th year, going in my 14th year, you live and learn. I mean, you find out things that you like. You find out things that you're programming. Every day is different, man. It's especially with the high school level. And if you're not bringing it every day and teaching new things or, reading up on material, you're falling behind.
I like how you're attacking it, Coach. Awesome stuff. We're going to kind of wrap stuff up here with the finisher. And it's 5 quick questions. And I want you to just whatever comes to mind, just fire those right back, and we'll get this thing going. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is your favorite quote?
I knew you were going to ask me that. To be honest with you, I love all the quotes. I really don't have a favorite quote. I told Nelson that to you before too. I love them all, and the big thing I'm noticing right now is a lot about mental toughness. So there's a lot of stuff I'm reading on that. I think that's a big thing that we need to key as coaches, and I think it's a struggle with some of our kids.
How about your favorite hobby outside of training?
I do a lot of biking, man. So not only do I, do the biking, but family time. To me, before we hit the school year, before we hit football season, hanging out with family, going off, doing some road bike, gravel bike, just kind of venturing off there. That's kind of my release, stress relief. But hanging out with family is huge too.
Favorite workout playlist?
I tell the kids, man, sometimes they play the music in here. I tune it out. I love music. I really love country music. I'll listen to anything. I really will. I cannot do the new school rap though. I cannot listen to that stuff. But I will listen to about anything.
15 minutes to train. What are you doing?
Cleans. I love cleans. I can't power clean anymore because I got some disc issues. But hang clean, shrugs, jump shrugs, anything above the knee I can do, and I love it. And that's my go-to.
That's sweet. And then last thing, small school strength coach who's killing it and deserves a shout out.
I knew you were going to ask me that too. Tony's already been on board. I'd love to hear from Jay Dahl at Waukee. He does a great job. Brian Loader at Johnson High School in Des Moines. Dave Jenkins out of DeWitt is another guy that you could talk to. But, those guys to me, I saw Brian, at a Central football camp, and just we just rallied around each other. Me, Tony, and him, we just talked. It was great. It's like we haven't seen each other for a year, but then all of a sudden, boom, we're here and we're just talking to each other. We're talking about the problems, things that we need to fix, things that we see, and we're all seeing the same stuff, man. So those 3 guys right there, those guys are guys that I'd love to hear from, guys that I need a shout out.
That's great, Coach. Man, those are 3 quality dudes. I like listening to all 3 of them, and definitely will look to have them on the show just to expand on what you've been talking about, Coach. It's been great to have you on, and just so much information that you've put out there for our listeners, but know that you have a lot of experience to draw from, and I know you have a ton more that you could share. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
I put 3 different things on there. I see, a Twitter account, my cell phone, and then, I got a website too that you could also go to. The biggest thing for me, and I think I'm bad about this, but I'm not a big social media guy. What I mean by that is I don't post a lot of stuff. I don't post a lot of workouts, and that's something I got to get better at. But at the end of the day, call me, man. I'm old school. I like to talk to you. I like to communicate with you type thing. So, my cell phone's probably the best thing. You can hold me, and, feel free to give that out to anybody that has questions.
That's awesome, Coach. Thank you for your time on the show. Thank you for all the information. I know that listeners will really enjoy this one. I enjoyed it a ton. And keep up the great work at PV.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.